And I give you Matt and Valerie.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you guys for coming. So we'll talk a little bit and then
Is it
open
playing now?
I think so.
for questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Is it on?
I hope so.
So this is a collection of work that we've been working on over a bunch of years. Some things are newer, some things are older, some things have taken lots of time, some things came together last minute. But I think our like underlying drive has been plants. We've been collaborating for
This is now 6 years
6
that we've been
years.
working with each
Yeah.
other.
and plants is what brought us together.
Yeah.
I used to make work about plants and Matt made work with plants.
And I killed a lot of plants, and she has a very green thumb, so like, I have learned a lot from Val about how to not kill plants. I'll talk louder. Sorry.
So
refrigerator is loud.
our practice took a turn to making work that helped care for plants, and we're sort of speculating about maybe what plants not only need but what they might like. So a lot of the pieces, like I think this is a good one. So the plant is actually in there, and before maybe we would make an installation with a plant and it would look like the installation was caring for the plant, but the plant was actually being tortured. So with this installation that is grow light, and we've made sure there aren't too many grow lights, it's the right amount of grow light for that particular plant. And there are some crystals in there that will help with its growth. And I think in empathizing with the plants, we selfishly think about things that we like, and if we were a plant, what would we like? So there are references to some of our favorite artists like James Turrell, or sometimes the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, yeah, and Frank Stella. And then sort of like objects of love, like the rug on the floor we've been working on for a few years, and it's hand braided. So like making objects for the plants, and also thinking about when you take in a house plant, or when you make a plant a house plant, the things that it might be missing from its native lands, and to sort of play with that space between the fakeness and the realness. Like the plant is real, but it's in sort of this fake area. So the rug we made to look like it's grass, and there's a little sunny spot on the grass, but obviously there's no grass and there's no sun. But if a house plant in a fake area might be missing some grass, maybe we could share that with a rug, a grassy rug. So I think all of the objects have sort of those types of plays and references to things that we love, that we hope that the plants love too. And some of them are a little bit more obscure, like these shelves with the velvet pillows with the rocks.
Well, I think in a lot of ways they're like doing the same thing as the sun. It's like us, like as humans that live in domestic spaces, and we're thinking about the plants that live in domestic spaces. We're fetishizing exterior spaces, and I think for me that's where the rocks come in.
Yeah.
These like mementos of specific locations that oftentimes we take the plants to.
And then these collaged images, so there's the video, the beer sign, and the bigger collage are all sort of in the same vein of, we're taking these plants from these already really beautiful locations and taking them to a home, and so trying to bring those beautiful things back to the plants and sort of doing the places injustice by photoshopping them unnecessarily, or putting like all of the most beautiful things all in together to where it becomes like a vomitorium of beautiful things, and it just becomes ridiculous and not realistic at all. So it hopefully reaches a little bit of funny, absurd as well.
Yeah, this is like a weird, like digital postcard of hot springs, right? So it's Max Patch and this swimming hole and all of these different landscapes composited together, like that function a lot as like a compressed memory for me.
Yeah, a year ago we did a residency at Zool. If you all haven't gotten a chance to talk to Camille yet, you definitely should. And if you're in the area, it's about an hour away, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Where
there
is
are
Hot springs?
Hot Spring.
Oh, wow.
It's 7 miles out of Hot Spring in a little community called Bluff.
yeah, and
Camille built this really incredible house that has been opened up for artist residencies.
So over here you have this little area of house plants.
Uh-huh.
We've actually sold a few of them. And
Thank you.
I've seen your Instagram account where you have these plants or some plants like them and you're taking them back out to nature and having these like selfies of the plants or whatever. So what is your intention for somebody who brings these home and does the plant go into a whole other sort of reality at that point, or do you expect, is there like a connection there?
So that kind of came out of this project where we were taking our personal house plants out and
Speak up.
we had this project maybe we started about 4 years ago where we were taking these house plants out to experience like the outdoors, maybe sometimes for the first time ever for that plant.
for a sunset or
Yeah, and so that's like this. It's like really sexy advertising for the plants, but it's also something that we think is really important for them, right? Like plants can smell other plants, they can interact with light, they can't. They understand the difference between daylight and sunset, those are all like really important like ways for them to take cues for development and things like that. So that's why we do it, and then that also allows us to go to really amazing places for ourselves too. So this like shared bit of like, I don't know, joy. I don't know that we have any expectations for someone who buys them. Like we just want to create a product that's really, yeah.
Well, can you talk about those pots a little bit? Because as people came in and like, what was this? I tried to explain to them how removed from, even the plants are removed from the natural environment, the pots are removed from their quote-unquote natural environment because they're not normal pots.
They're not, yeah.
So maybe you can speak about that a little bit.
I mean, I think this is like something Val and I, at one point we tried really hard to get away from the trained aesthetics that we came from in art, but we realized at some point that's a futile effort. And so the pots themselves in terms of like art, the artificial or non-natural part is they, normally when you make a pot like that, they're all slip cast, right? Which is a really traditional way of making ceramic wares. But these, in order to make a slip cast, you have to make the original. And the original only exists digitally, so we just created a digital file and then carved into the plaster of Paris directly, and then poured liquid clay into it to create the positive. So, it's kind of like a weird photograph without an
It's
origin.
like the complete removal of any human interaction other than you designing it on a keyboard, say, for example, and then it spits out this object that we take for granted as a hand-built
So it's
pot,
a 3D pot,
essentially.
out
Yeah,
of the 3D printer.
yeah,
But the clay is still nature.
yeah.
yeah.
And it's still I feel like whenever you throw out that digital thing, it's like, oh yeah, robots did it, right? But like a robot had, well, I don't know. With that one, it's kind of fun because the robot actually had a ton of say in it, and that's why it was enjoyable, right? So we designed these really basic shapes, and then the way the tool pathing exists has to do with like all of these different programmers that have like developed the algorithm for how it maps itself in space. And so it actually, this tool has been taught all of this stuff from a bunch of people, and then it argued with me or with us the entire time about how it wanted to work. So all of the line work that you see in the pot is from the computer, not from us, right?
Nature versus.
Well, or maybe it's just a different nature, right? Like it's like I don't necessarily think it's that, like for me, the difference between whether or not I hand carved that or like collaborated with a robot, like isn't all that different. Like it was way funner to let a robot argue. What's that?
You weren't dealing with Hal.
No, it was a really dumb version of Hal. Like,
So you don't have adoption rules, like must be neutered, must be, watered once a week.
Let's go to jump off rockets.
You know, you go to the
Yeah.
animal shelter.
there's a contract you have to
Yeah.
sign. It's about 8 pages long. It's kind of like getting a dog from the ASPCA.
Yeah. And that's a more newer project for us.
Yeah.
Those pots, crystals, and all of the plants are cuttings from our personal house plants too.
Yeah.
And we sort of like hemmed and hawed about it for a long time and sat on it for a while and then just decided, well, we just need to get started. And Instagram seemed like a really good way, because before when we were taking the plants on walks, we would come away with one image and then we would have to decide like, what are we gonna do with this one image? And we would maybe print it and then there would be this one thing and it felt odd, but the Instagram is like, we can have a new one every day and it's very, like it's a lot more relaxed and a lot more digestible and we can like play around with it. It's not every single photo is such a daunting task. And then we don't need, like we're not so forceful about it. Like when we do the post, we just say what kind of plant it is. We've named all of the pots after different characters in movies that we love, and then what kind of crystal it is. And then we put a purple heart and a green heart, and then we send it off. So if people, however they want to understand that plant in this sunset or mossy patch is sort of, it's up to them how important that is for them. And if they want to buy it, we don't really say like, DM us for prices in each. We just sort of like put it out there, and we don't have an Etsy account or anything like that. We just have this Instagram account that we post every day, a plant in a spot.
I think it's more of an art project that looks like a business rather than a business for us at this point. Like we're not opposed to selling it, but for me the things that are exciting is like when like looking at who our demographics end up being, like who ends up following us and why, is really like super fascinating to me.
And all of the sales that we've made so far from Instagram, like we've gone to meet them and hand the pot off to them. And then we've offered a discount if they tag us in their Instagram posts in its new environment. And then your friend who bought one, they also did that unprompted. And I think those, we called that project People Via Plants. So I think that like People Via Plants part is nice.
And I think both of us would consider ourselves like antisocial, so this is a way of like forcing a level of like social interaction that maybe we can appreciate. Like that's like a healthy fit, at least for me. I don't want to speak for you.
So each plant has an Instagram photo?
Yeah,
Sometimes multiple.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, they get like a really specific treatment. So a lot of these ones made it up to Jump Off Rock for photo shoots while we were here doing the installation.
So then do you Instagram the adopted parent of the plant?
Yeah.
Tie them.
Yeah, so we ask them to send a photo once they've reached their forever home, and then we will post that onto our feed.
Yeah, put it in our stories.
It's not requisite. We're not going to force anyone
Yeah.
to do it, but most people are like, I think anyone who's like gonna buy that thing are usually kind of on board.
That's all.
That's all. Well, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Or any other questions?
Yeah.
These guys will be here all day, so if you guys
Yeah,
go out.
yeah, we don't have to, yeah, the
Yeah.
divider line can be erased now.
And if you want your portrait,
Yeah.
we are willing and able to take your portrait in front of the step and repeat.
Well, I'm really gonna miss the cuckoo clock.
Oh.
Me too.
Are you really? I figured it was gonna drive you insane. Where's that?
People will come in the store and they'll be
Day
shopping.
Do you
They'll
guys
say,
hear it?
"Yeah, bird." Yeah. And it's
Is a bird in
an instant conversation about this. It's a real draw.
This one's actually a pretty tame sound installation. Yeah, we did a exhibition with Sarah and our friend Amy in Baltimore, and we created a soundtrack in the space that was like much more aggressive. So it was like, and then we showed a body of work.
It was aggressive.
Really?
No.
It was like,
It
well,
was a much bigger.
it filled the space though, right? Like it wasn't.
Good response to it.
I mean, I loved it, or we wouldn't have done it. But it did fill the space. And then we did one in Richmond where we actually hooked it up to the speakers that were outside the gallery, so it projected down the downtown area, and that was really fun because it was taking all these natural sounds and putting them back out into the world.
Sometimes very natural, like there would be geese, and maybe that's a little bit more normal, but then there was chickens clucking or my cat purring.
Yeah, the cat purring was
Yeah.
really good.
Did you get a lot of reaction from people in that area to that?
Yeah, mostly it was just like people walking down the street, like making awkward expressions. Yeah.
And by the end, the gallery owner would be sitting, the like, geese, and then the geese.
Chicken.
Casper, yeah. So after a month, yeah, maybe. But I'm glad the cuckoo
This was very
is not
soothing.
too much.
Well, in the volume you can just,
Yeah.
if it gets to be a lot, you
Right.
can turn it down.
We did have much bigger speakers
Yeah.
for the other ones.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, crates.